Hello.
Jerry,
Hi, Dave. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thank you for asking. How about you?
I'm okay. I'm hoping this connection will be good enough. I'm in Venice at home for a rare day or two, and
It sounds
not the
perfect at the
best.
moment. Perfect.
Good, but I will not move an inch.
Yeah. Thank you. It is All Things Considered. I'm Dave Lawrence, and thank you very much for joining us today. We are welcoming back a returning guest. He's been with us many times, Gerry Beckley of the band America, a group that have a long history in Hawaii. And Jerry's been on both to talk about America stuff, and he's been with us for solo occasions in the past. We have another one of those, new record, 5 Mile Road, and it's a great pleasure to talk about that and more as we welcome back Gerry Beckley to the show. Hey, Jerry, thanks for doing this. Aloha, man.
Aloha, Dave. Nice to talk with you again.
Yes, it's great to have you on. Congrats on this record, which is interesting. I've been listening to it. There's so many catchy jams on this, but when listening to the title track a few times, it's powerful. Explain what the 5 Mile Road is and if it has something to do with your 50-year career with America and the music industry.
Well, I suppose it does. The fives is just a coincidence, but it's it talks about the journey. Now, we all have our lives of ups and downs and rocky roads and smooth roads and things. I was trying to make the analogy that it's not an insurmountable distance. The lyric goes 5 miles out and 5 miles back. And I just think in the overall scope of the world and how tiny our little place is, that's a kind of a relatable distance. If somebody was to say to you, we're going to go walk over to a friend's, where is it? Oh, it's 5 miles. Oh, geez, I don't know. I'm not going to. So anyway, I tried to use that as the analogy for the journey. And the journey has, first of all, with the band, taken us 50 years. It's taken me well into my 60s. And, this is an album about that journey.
And certainly a good follow-up. There's a track on there called Life Lessons, which certainly as a title dovetails into what we're talking about here. And all the songs on this new album, 5 Mile Road, again, it's Gerry Beckley of America talking about his new solo project. All the tunes on there you wrote, except for by yourself too. It looks like, except for that one, Life Lessons, and that song was co-written by a very interesting character. I'm sure to many of the people who are listening who know him best from a robot's warning on 60s TV, Danger, Will Robinson, and that's Bill Mooney's character on Lost in Space. How'd you get to know this guy first before we even hear about the song?
Bill is one of our oldest and dearest friends in California. When we first came here in '72, February, to release the first album, I'd never been to California. And by that point, Horse was the biggest selling record in the country. And we did a week at the Whiskey A Go-Go on Sunset Boulevard. And it was kind of the thing to go see. Who are these new teenagers, with this record and stuff. So the whole week was great. But some fantastic people who became dear friends. Brian Wilson came on the first night. Bill Mooney came, and when you meet Bill, he's such a familiar face from all of the references that you might have growing up and stuff. It was kind of like, why do I know you? But did we go to school together? And of course, it's that, then it all clicks. Bill is as much or more of a musician than he is an actor. He was a fanatic with his group Redwood when we first met in '72, and he's continued to play and record all these years. It's one of the only people that I do co-write with. Dewey has had some success working with Bill, too. He's a fantastic lyricist. And in the case of Life Lessons, he really, I did have quite a bit of it in shape, but he just honed focused the camera and stuff. Really, really great at that. And I'm proud to have him on the record.
And so what's he do on that? He's doing some lyrics, and what music is he playing? What instruments?
He didn't play anything on Life Lessons, but he wrote most of the words. Now, he does appear on something, I think maybe So Long Marnie, something halfway through the album. He did some fingerstyle guitar and some banjo. So the ghost of Bill will pop his head up in a variety of places. The last album, I included a few cover tunes,
right,
which I've always thought is not a bad idea if you're writing the whole thing. And a cover song, somebody else's mindset adds contour and hopefully a few strong songs. in this case, it just turned out where I did write it all, and it wasn't a conscious thing. It's just how it turned out.
And so Bill gets the credit then for to ask what Life Lessons is about. It's really something that that the answer would come from him more, yeah? Or do you know what it's about?
Well, no, no, believe me, we go over every word. And to be honest, Bill, with his early success and building a family and stuff, has been on a lot of the journeys that Dewey and I have over the years. So there's a lot of common denominators in our themes. But no, I worked with him really closely, and he knew what we were trying to convey.
And so that's just like the life lessons of getting older and trying to what would you sum it up as being about, sort of?
Well, it's clearly when you're 40, 50, 60, far easier to look back with all of these hurdles that you cleared, lessons that you learned. But when I tell a 20-year-old son or even a 30-year-old son, you just wish you could impart the wisdom of these decades. And unfortunately, that's the trick. You can't. A lot of this is life lessons that you learn by living the life, as opposed to, it's kind of like when you read people talk about mindfulness and meditation and how wonderful it is. And it's the answer to so many things, peace of mind and stuff. But boy, you got to do the time. There's just no way you can fast track that stuff and speed read the book, so to speak.
What a great answer. And also what you first started out with, how individual lessons really are. And it's very hard to share stuff because everybody else's journey is so different. They're going to have a different sort of set of lessons maybe that they are required to learn. And that was just great. That was very insightful. And there's another jam on there which sort of has some cool history. There's this tune, Home Again. And we're talking with Gerry Beckley from the band America. He's got long history here in the islands, of course, but 5 Mile Road, his latest solo record. And this song, from what I read, and forgive me, Gerry, if I have it wrong, but it's a song you started back in the 70s and then only finished toward the end of the new record.
Yeah, I mean, that is an extreme case. But when I try and explain, I'm quite prolific. And let me just follow that by saying I kind of come from you got to write 10 to get 2. Because they're not all good ones. They don't all work. It's kind of like movies. You can throw 50 million at something, at a great script, and everybody, when they're all done, they look and go, what happened? But in songs, it's similar. But it doesn't mean that the other 8 that you didn't use are rubbish. And so I always end up with quite a big, deep, barrel full of these things that are half finished, almost done. They need a bridge and stuff. Home Again I'd had for years and years, and I really liked it. 12-string bass, 3-part harmony, a lot of the things that are just our go-to sounds. But it wasn't quite done. And so in the assembly of this record, there's never any rules of, okay, it's got to be just stuff from the last 6 months. There's none of that. You just look at the whole pile and just see what fits together. It's kind of like addressing a jigsaw puzzle each time, because what you're trying to do is make the whole album a listening experience. And so it had always been there. It just wasn't quite done. The ironic thing is that all I had was old tapes of the song. And so I had to go back in. I live in Venice now. We live in Venice, and we also live in Australia. But I don't have a studio here anymore. And so I had to find a room here in Venice. A friend down the street has a nice rig. And I had to go in and replay everything and do it all over again. So I thought, there's an irony. This probably the oldest song is now the last one to be finished.
Wow. And the tapes, are they reel to reel? What form and exactly?
In that case, it was reel to reel, I think. Yeah, I think it was a half-inch 16-track reel to reel from an early studio I had that all had to be transferred and figured out.
Amazing.
What was usable and what wasn't.
That's cool. I love that. That's a great story. And also you were talking about how in this particular go round, except for the one track, it's all stuff that you wrote. What is also neat about the record, in addition to you playing a lot of different instruments and doing a lot of the work on the solo record, you do have some guests. Looks like Rusty Young from Poco, Jason Sheff from Chicago. Talk about their contributions and also how long you've known these guys and any cool stories to how you got to build a relationship with either of them.
Well, coincidentally, Rusty, we just played with a few weeks ago. Poco are still together after all of these years. And of course, they've been through some changes. We had a wonderful show at the Orange County Fair with ourselves, Poco, and Firefall. So it was just a beautiful evening of that kind of genre. We were not only kind of child of the 70s, we came to LA in 72 and hooked up with LA management and stuff. And within a year or so, we were in the same office with Poco. And this was Poco. Richie was gone by then, but Rusty, of course, and Timothy Schmidt. So a lot of the 70s, we did shows together with all of those guys and have stayed friends since then. So Rusty is just such a virtuoso at all of those different instruments, with the mandolin and the dobro and the steel, and that he applies the same mindset to all of those things. So you really get a unity if he plays a few, you get the same kind of mind approaching the tune as opposed to one guy on the slide and one guy on the.
Yeah, I like that.
So that was a lovely addition. And Jason Scheff, which is funny to me, he was always the new guy in Chicago for 35 years. He took Peter Cetera's place and sang and just did a fantastic job in that position. But he happens to be one of the most incredible bass players. And I love to play bass. I've played bass on a lot of our hits. I've played bass on Tin Man and Riverside and Sandman and stuff. But there are times when it's clearly what's called for is beyond my little fingers. And so that, in a case like this, he would be my go-to call anytime. And so I'm honored to have him on the record.
That's really cool. And you also, it looks like, from studying your family background and looking closely at the photo credit for the new record, looks like Joe Beckley played a role in the pictures.
Yeah, Joe has been very successful now as a photographer for the last, not quite 10 years, but just the thing with Joe is kind of the thing with Matthew, my older son, is they're both so busy, it's hard you got to book in with your own kids.
Yeah.
But as you know, another Hawaii, familiar face has been Henry Diltz over these years, who has shot so many of our album covers and is still a dear friend and as good a photographer as ever. I don't see Henry quite as much now because he's down in Laguna, and none of us are semi-retired, but it's just a little harder to put the miles together. But in this case, Joe, I just thought, God, it would be really fitting if I can get Joe on to shoot this stuff. I did have an idea of kind of what I had in mind, but beyond that, as a dad, obviously, it's just a treat to just let your kids do and let them say, this is up to you. You shoot what you see. Don't let me tell you what to do. It was a lovely shoot, beautiful set of images, and I think it really fits the vibe of the album.
Talk about vibe. It's funny you use that word because there's this one jam on there, Stop Feeling Sorry. And when I was listening to it, I couldn't help but think it had like a Beach Boys, almost Motown vibe to the way that the song was structured.
Yeah.
Anything on that?
Yeah, it's a poppy tune, one of the newer songs on the album. Speaking of Beach Boys, the Jeff Foskett, who has been for decades the high voice in either the Beach Boy band or Brian Wilson's band, is a dear friend of mine, and he's singing on that one. But yeah, obviously I'm a fan of pop, and I think that track is about as pop as this album gets. There's a lot of introspective stuff on this record, but I'm very aware of, you don't want to mire people down too much in you got to move emotionally. You have to move them around as well as audibly.
Right.
So I think that song is valuable in that sense.
Yeah. Same with I guess it was Sudden Soldier. The intro to me sounded very similar. The guitar, at least, to Sister Golden Hair. It had so there were definitely songs that I thought would, like you just said, move people around to different places, evoke different stuff, but do so in an original way. And we mentioned the Beach Boys, I guess, a couple times, different members and stuff. And dialing in on that, I was looking closely at some of your work, and you did some work with David Cassidy. I was looking at who else was on the Cassidy record, and then between looking at that and between you, when you mentioned your first gigs in America and who came to see you, it looks like you have, over the course of your life, you have Carl Wilson, you have Dennis, you have Brian. It looks like via working on the Cassidy record, Bruce Johnston was on that. At another point in your life, it says you worked with Al Jardine. So you can see like the portrait I'm painting here. It's like, wow, all these connections to the Beach Boys. Bring us back to where that began and tell us some cool stories that obviously go with knowing and being that close to these many guys.
I tell you, it began in '63 when it was the first album I ever bought was Surfin' Safari, and I cut my teeth on learning, all of those songs. I had every album, and as they evolved into just one of our most creative, groups of our generation. I mean, I was right on board. I was as stunned as all of L.A. When Pet Sounds was released and stuff. All of that. Then to jump ahead, our years with George Martin. George Martin quite openly said his biggest inspiration in what he's done was Brian Wilson. So their impact was huge. But to answer your question, they had signed to Warner Brothers worldwide, and so Brother Records, which was their label, had Surf's Up came out. I think Sunflower was on Brother, and then Surf's Up. Then they came to the UK in '71 to promote Carl and the Passions. And so we were signed to Warner. So we just met them, stuck with them like a couple of little puppies, and followed him around. Mike took us to his TM lessons and got to know Carl and got to know all of them, people like Billy Hinchy and stuff who played in the band for decades. But in Carl's case, I think he felt something in me because I was just 17 and he was 15 at the start of the Beach Boys.
Wow.
So he became a mentor to me, and one of my closest friends. And unfortunately, I had the I guess the honor to give the eulogy at Carl's funeral. So I'm trying to just convey how deep the connection has gone with all of those guys. It's easy to paraphrase when we talk about influences, but when we say Beach Boys and Beatles, boy, it isn't any more accurate than that. That's truly where it comes from.
And didn't you co-write with Brian a track for the David Cassidy record, one of those records?
Yeah, I did. I've known Brian for years. I had a strange thing happen a while back where I'm on the Beach Boy album Holland, and somebody was asking me about what was that experience like, and it was a wonderful. We went to Holland to the studio and saw them doing some work there and stuff. But ironically, my involvement on the album didn't occur until the whole thing came back to L.A. It still wasn't quite done. Went into Village Recorders. And I sung on a few tracks, and then this guy doing the interview said, and what was it like, to sing on Sailor and, this iconic. And I said, I don't think I'm on Sailor. And he goes, oh, yes, you are. I have the track sheet right here. It clearly lists.
Oh.
And I thought, I am. Maybe I was. I actually forgot that I'd sung on Sailor. And so, and then now I listen to it, I can hear myself now on it and stuff. But anyway, so deep connections that couldn't be stronger. My thoughts are with Brian at the moment. He's back out there. They're on tour with the Zombies and stuff. And I know he's had some challenges this last year, and I just love him so much. I don't think there's any question about what a national treasure he is. And I also don't think there's anything missing in the let's make sure Brian knows that, so we send more love and our support and stuff, daily.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool that you got to write jams with him like that and do things like that. I mean, that's incredible. And on that there's so many people on that David Cassidy record. It's amazing when you look at who he had playing with him on that in addition to you. And so when I saw that, it was something. What were you going to say?
I was going to say it was an interesting time because David, obviously was one of the biggest stars in the world and was really, with a change of label, trying to establish a very well-deserved musical career that wasn't attached to the TV show and stuff. And, that's a tough trick to pull off. And we all did our best with David on that. And I co-produced an album or two with him. But the point is, those people were on that record because they wanted to be. There was no kind of bending of arms and stuff. Bruce Johnson had been a fan and a friend and stuff. So, that's kind of what it's all about is getting together, seeing if your combined energies can work.
Yeah, that's what you said earlier. You got to write, to paraphrase you got to put a lot of tunes out there. Some are going to stick, some aren't, but you got to try and do it. And, You mentioned, you said it in a cool way. Another way to paraphrase it, you said you can't emphasize sort of enough how close both the Beach Boys and the Beatles would be to influencing you guys, helping with your
Hmm.
sound and that thing. There's this funny thing I was reading about Nick Lowe's biography tells the story of he and Dave Edmunds from Rockpile running into you in the 70s and then you taking them to a party to see, as they referred to it, some of your friends. And it included Ringo Starr and Keith Moon at this thing. Do you remember that?
I do now. Now that that has come out, I kind of remember that story. And bless his heart, just to give Nick some credit, Nick was in Brinsley Schwartz at the start of the 70s, and we were huge Brinsley Schwartz fanatics and stuff. And so fast forward a few years, and I ran into him in a bar, and he was putting Rockpile together with Dave, I think. And I guess what I said was, I'm going over you want to come with me? I'm going over to see some friends. And what I didn't tell him, and it was not a gag. I wasn't trying to shock him, but where I was going was Harry Nilsson's flat, which was around the corner in Mayfair. And Harry was one of my dearest friends. And so it was a kind of a meeting place, Harry's, and we spend a lot of time there. And so I go over to Harry's, and Harry just happened to have Ringo and Keith there, and also Kit Lambert, who was the Who's manager, who was an unbelievable character. But anyway, so it's shown up anecdotally now. It's in Nick's book, and I love him for including it and stuff. It's a lovely story, and I tell you, some of those stories from the 70s, you kind of holding your breath because you think, oh no, where could this go? But in that case, I came off all right, and it's true, and I, that it kind of voices an insecurity of Nick, which I've never seen from him. He is such a talented guy, still at it. I was watching a great clip of him performing with Wilco the other day, and I thought, I got to reconnect with Nick. So that article has extended us both, and we're going to hopefully hook up.
Well, that's a neat thing about stuff like that. It helps to jog your memory, and the moments that you don't cringe are obviously moments you can be grateful for. That are the fun stories like that come out, and I think that's fantastic. It was great to read it, to read about that, and in that same note, you had some great touring partners. I was reading in the 70s, and again, it's Gerry Beckley from the band America, 5 Mile Road, his new solo release that he's got. One of those was the band.
The show with the band was in Amsterdam at the legendary Concert Cabal, which is just a historic symphony.
Yeah, been in there.
Hall. Now, we all knew the band. Pinkett was out in the band, the follow-up album. But this comes back to Nick Lowe, because Brinsley Schwartz were such fanatics of the band that we were all just knocked out to hear, we're going to Amsterdam, we're going to open for the band. No kidding. And so Nick and Brinsley, who's the guitarist in Brinsley Schwartz, said, you got to go out on stage and write down the settings on the amps. They were so fanatic. They wanted to know exactly. They were pretty sure from photos what amps Robbie and what everybody was using, but they wanted us to kind of sneak out there and scribble down. Okay, treble knobs on 7. Kind of thing. Oh man! And then just to kind of bring it full circle, years later, I reconnected with Rick Danko, and we all lived in Malibu, and Ronnie Wood wasn't as a good friend, and Ronnie was hanging with Danko, and so Danko says he's doing a solo album. The band had the last waltz, and they're all kind of trying to figure out where they're going to go from now. And he said, I'd like you to do the backup vocals. I said, no kidding, that'd be awesome. And he says, yeah, I was thinking of maybe you and Blondie. So to come full circle with Blondie and the Beach Boys, Blondie Chaplin, there we were, Blondie and I doing backgrounds on a couple of Danko albums. So it's lovely how these things wind together.
It really is. It's an incredible career. And as we wrap it up with you, I was looking at your tour dates, and it looks like Australia, you'll be down under, and then there's a big empty spot at the end of that. Is there any chance you guys are going to come back through Hawaii?
Oh, I would love to see Hawaii. I have a kind of a cliche thing that when people say to us, oh, God, great to have you in Buffalo, but, it's been 5 years. How come so long? And you have to remind them. And so I then say, just a reminder, we don't pick where we go, because if we did, I would be in Maui every month.
Right.
it's kind of my joke about that. But as you might know, my wife and I split our time between Venice and Australia. So to see Australia on the tour schedule is it's kind of a blessing and a curse. A curse in that the guest list goes beyond measure. But very often they will pair dates with Hawaii and stuff. I guarantee we'll be back sooner rather than later if it's not a part of that particular run. At the moment, I think we're wrapping up mid-December down there, and I then take the holidays off with my family down there.
Okay, you're staying down there. You're going to stay in Australia basically when the tour's over. It seems like.
I think so. Yeah.
And where in you never mentioned it, and it's such a huge continent. It's kind of like it's like saying the word Africa. There's so many different places. So where in Australia are you?
We live in Sydney in a suburb called Paddington.
Amazing.
Which is in the eastern suburbs. Beautiful, lovely Victorian terrace, and ended up with 3 stepkids along the way, so 5 total, and they all speak. They all text and Instagram, and my American kids want to go to Australia, and all my Aussie kids want to come to the States. It's quite a menagerie.
Man, that's quite a guest list, too, huh? Not making any money on this tour, it looks like. It's Gerry Beckley.
Not the point, Dave. No, not the point.
And 5 Mile Road is his latest solo record, and a guy who, through the band America, has had so much history in the islands, recorded here, done so with George Martin, and just a huge fan base in the islands. We're hoping that he comes back, but really grateful that he took the time to be on the show with us today talking about this fun new record that it evokes memories and even has the Danger Will Robinson moment there on the record.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
It's always nice to talk with you, man, and my love to everybody on the islands. Aloha.
Right back at you, Gerry. Be safe, brother.
Take care, man.